My first guest, Rhode Island native, super talented guy, who is now a member of the very first non-Korean K-pop group. His name is Frankie Da Ponte Jr. Come on out.
Hey,
Hi.
how's it going?
Good. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Oh my God, thanks for having me. It's
and
awesome.
Welcome back to the States.
I know, it's so
you
crazy.
No longer even live here.
It's been 10 months now since I've been away, so
Crazy.
it feels great to be home and with family.
I bet. So okay. This is a really, really fascinating story. We're going to get into all the details in a moment, but I would love to first talk to you a little bit about how you got started. You know, you're Bristol, Rhode Island guy doing all these cool things. Talk to us about how you got started in entertainment, performing.
Yep. So I started performing at a very young age. I still remember the first performance I ever had was my kindergarten graduation, and I sang a solo on stage. And I remember ever since then I've always wanted to be on stage, like singing, dancing, acting, the whole thing. So throughout elementary school, middle school, high school, I did a lot of musical theater. And actually, fun fact, I was in Ava's mother's acting class, Mrs. Schlink, if you're watching. Shout out to you, I miss you. Mrs. Schlink had a huge impact on my entertainment aspiration, you know, in acting and everything. And I was in her acting class for 4 years. And I remember it was so interesting. I always wanted to move to New York, but it always seemed like so far, not physically far away, just like the dream of moving there seemed so difficult.
To move away from your family and be on your own.
Yeah, exactly. And your mom was, you know, your #1 fan, so she always would talk to us about what Ava was up to in New York and all the current things you were working on. And we looked up to you so much because it was like seemed so like real, like possible, you know. So you were a huge inspiration to me, and because of that, I was like, I can do this. I can move to New York. I can pursue a career in entertainment. Ava's killing it, so but I got this. I think so. So yeah, so I moved to New York, and then I went to school there, and I just auditioned for a ton of things, and many no's, couple of yeses. You know how it goes.
I do know how it goes.
Yeah, and then 2014, I landed a gig. I landed EXP Edition.
So this is such a really like fascinating concept. So the group that you're in is called EXP Edition.
Yes.
It is part of this like K-pop phenomena, but the twist of the story is that they're all members. All the members are non-Koreans.
Yeah.
So first time this has ever happened. Tell us how this group was put together.
Yeah. So back in 2014 is when we were formed. So the company that I'm signed to now, I'm a BB Entertainment, started off as an artist collective in the fine arts world back at Columbia University in New York. So Bora Kim, along with Karen Kuroda, Samantha Shao, they created EXP Edition specifically to be a non-Korean K-pop idol group to discuss and highlight the cultural phenomenon within the Korean wave, and then how it's connected to things like gender and cultural hybridity and fandom. And I remember the casting call stated that the short-term goal was to create this group and make a documentary about the process of making a non-Korean K-pop idol group. And the long-term goal would be that if it was successful, that they would want to, make it a successful touring music group. So I was just like, this is so crazy. It sounds so interesting. I had already been introduced to K-pop a couple of years prior. I took a lot of dance classes at Broadway Dance Center in New York, and a lot of choreographers were using K-pop already in their classes.
Oh, cool. So you kind of had an idea of like the style and
exactly.
all that.
And when I first heard K-pop, I was just like, this is so cool. I don't understand what they're saying, but yet I'm still so intrigued.
Yeah.
And so that was my introduction to it. And then when I came across the casting call again, I'm like, oh, here's K-pop popping up again in my life. So went to the casting call, I got in, and then it's just been an adventure ever since.
A whirlwind. My goodness.
Yeah.
Well, first tell us a little bit about how the actual name EXP Edition and where that comes from.
So when we first started, it was more of an experimental like atmosphere, and so that's where EXP comes from. And then experiment. And then Edition we added when we moved to Seoul to represent the second part of our journey, the expedition of EXP. So now we are EXP Edition.
Cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, this must have been like, this is everything. This is dancing. This is singing. This is singing in another language. So now you're learning a new language. Tell us about the process of like, this is like K-pop boot camp, I bet.
Yes. It's K-pop for those of you watching who aren't familiar with K-pop. K-pop is a genre of pop that is sung in Korean and English and is very awesome. It's very it's highly influenced by Western pop and hip hop.
Yeah.
But it's different because K-pop is more centered around idol groups and supergroups that are made up of anywhere from 3 members to like 14 members, which is so crazy. Yeah. And dance is one of the biggest elements of K-pop. Very, very clean and sharp choreography, very in sync. K-pop is very like addicting and they strive for perfection. So when you watch it for the first time, you're literally like, what is this? I can't peel my eyes away. I just want to keep watching more. And it's really, really awesome. And so now, when we started, we obviously knew that we'd have to start learning Korean. I think as it snowballed into something bigger and bigger and bigger, it's become like a daily thing for us. So now since we moved to Seoul, we started learning Korean in New York, at least the basics. And then
was it more like learn these song lyrics and just sing them in the song, or did they start with, we're going to teach you how to speak this language like fluently?
At first it was learning songs in Korean and basics like the alphabet and how to read Korean and how to write. And then we started, most of our lyrics are written in English and then would be translated by our team, by Bora Kim, who created us. She would translate it to Korean. So that's how it first started. Then when we moved to Seoul, when we got there, we hit the ground running. It was like intense training for all the months leading up to our debut. We debuted 2 months ago, so it was like about a solid 7-month training, 8-month training, and long days, early mornings, like 6 to 8 hour dance rehearsals. Then we'd go to a vocal lesson, and then we'd go to like a Korean class for a couple hours, and then whatever else we had to fit into the schedule, studio time and everything. But Korean is definitely the most difficult part. It's definitely the most difficult part. I never imagined in a million years that I would actually be learning Korean, so it's really exciting.
And really speaking it fluently. I mean, I've been on YouTube and watched some interviews that you've done in Korea, and it's
so nerve-wracking.
Oh my goodness.
But I'm so proud of us.
I'm personally not good at like learning languages, or maybe I haven't tried hard enough, but so they're laughing back there. It's probably the case. But I just imagine that with everything else that you're doing, it would be a full-time job as it is, but then adding into it this whole new language that it seems like you guys are really doing well, though. I mean,
I think that's the other interesting aspect of it, because most groups, like if we were just a pop group in America trying to be successful, we would just be creating music and we already know English, so we wouldn't have to be, the fact that we're learning a language on top of all the other things that we have to do to be a music group, it kind of just makes the stakes that much higher, and it makes it that much more challenging and everything. But I really am proud of the group and the work that we've done in learning the language, because it's really difficult, and there's so many honorifics that change when you're speaking and to who you're speaking and the setting you're speaking. So it's definitely something that we're always working on every day to get better. Some of the other guys in the group are a little bit more advanced, like Cookie and Shine are a little more advanced, and then Hunter and myself are working a little bit more to get there, but we balance each other out really well. So it's really
like complete immersion, because now you're living in Seoul.
So
you're speaking this language, you're buying groceries, and
you know
what I mean. So
crazy.
You get to kind of live the life. So what is it like to live there? What are the kind of the similarities? How is it different?
Seoul is an amazing city. It really is so cool. It's similar to New York, but still very different. So like New York, it's very fast paced, and there's a lot of different neighborhoods that have like their own feel and community of people that kind of like New York, different areas. So you get that, and you go to certain places to get certain types of food and beer in a certain vibe. But it's also very different. The first thing I remember when I got to Seoul was how clean it is and how immaculate the transportation system is.
Wow.
Like the subways are so clean. Like you see people cleaning the escalators
Really?
in the morning, and it's just so clean. And then how efficient the transportation is there. So that was instantly what I noticed. I really like Seoul as well because of the like there's a lot of mountains everywhere, so you can see, it's like you're in the city but you get the mountain view.
You kind of can see the landscape.
Yeah, exactly. So I love Korean food. Thank God.
Thank God.
Thank God. That would make things a lot more difficult.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love Korean food, and there's some really great Korean restaurants in our neighborhood and obviously other parts of the city. But I've fallen in love with Korean barbecue there. We have this they're called Kogi Chip, which is meat house, and on the corner of where we live, and we go to like probably once a week. And we become friends with the owners there, and so it's really cool. Seoul is a lot of fun, and Korean people are so amazing. Korean people are so.
How is the interaction with you guys being there?
Yeah, Korean people are very, very welcoming to us, very supportive, and just it makes it that much easier for us to like get adjusted, because they're so nice and very friendly, and it's all about respect. So like respect is the standard there, like bowing, and say hello, like constantly, it's about this like mutual respect, and it's a very safe city. I never feel unsafe there, so
that's great.
That's a really cool feeling.
Yeah. So you recently made your debut. You released your first single. And
Feel Like This. If you haven't heard it, please check it out.
It's so good. You have to watch it, and there are some clips of you guys performing on some TV shows, and oh my God, it is tight. The choreography is together. I mean, I was like, it is so good. So,
thanks.
But it's really making a splash, really getting some attention. What has that been like for you guys as the group who has been working on this for so long, and now it's like you put it out to the world, and you're starting to hear the first reactions? What's it been like?
When we first debuted in New York. That's how we started, people started finding out about us. Yeah. So, there was this little conversation that was creating a little bit of controversy about us not being Korean, and the fact that us being a K-pop group with non-Koreans was somewhat different and unusual, and so a lot of people had different opinions about it. So then that was probably 2 years ago. So then when we moved to Seoul and we debuted in Seoul, the reaction in Korea has been absolutely amazing, and Korean people are so like positive. Like they've been so awesome to us, and just like they're really intrigued at this idea of non-Koreans, foreigners coming to Seoul to do K-pop. And I think for them it's really interesting to see how K-pop has become this global phenomenon, and how it's bringing people from all over the world together. So that's been the positive reaction that we've gotten from Koreans. Obviously, like I said before, the controversy is there as well, mainly with non-Korean K-pop fans, because of the fact that there are no Koreans in the group. So we've seen a shift, though. We've seen a shift in people who were sort of questioning what we were doing, and now they're kind of like, I really like this idea. They're non-Korean, and they're putting in so much work to learn this culture and perform K-pop and other K-pop idols, which is so crazy to us because we've been watching these groups perform on TV and in New York, and then when we moved to Seoul. So now that we're performing on these stages with some of these really big K-pop stars, it's so surreal. I remember the first show we did. So TV, like the music shows there are it's very different than here, because when you release a song, you just debut your song on these music shows constantly. And it's just group after group after group. And so the first show that we did, everybody introduces themselves to each other. So and there's like it's called an insa, and insa is when you introduce your group. So it's like 안녕하세요, EXP Edition입니다, and then you go down the line and introduce yourselves. And no matter how famous the group is, they're still coming out of their dressing room and they're meeting rookie groups like us.
Oh, wow.
And then we do like a CD trade where we hand them our CD and they give us their CD, and it's just like this really communal environment, and everyone is so like rooting for each other, and it's really, really surreal. I just can't believe we've done those shows. It's really awesome.
Yeah, so. I mean, I feel like at the end of the day, kind of the music and the performance is really what matters to people. They may have an opinion before getting to know you guys as a group, but once they hear you and see you, it's sort of like impossible not to go for it. You know, it's not a sort of pretend version of what they're doing. You guys are really, really doing it.
Yeah.
So
I think it's expected whenever somebody does something new or different for the first time. There's always going to be, there's always going to be such a this different reaction. So it's definitely expected. I think for us, like when I first heard K-pop, I didn't know what they were saying, but I was still so intrigued. And I think music is something that we feel, and it shouldn't have to have all these boundaries of like who can do what type of music and who can't do it. As long as you're not mocking it and you're respecting that genre of music and the culture behind it, then I think anybody should be able to do what kind of music they want to do, And I think that's something that's so special about music, is that anybody can do any style of music that they want. And what we're doing now is just that. So music is, like I always say in all our interviews, I think music is a universal language that brings people from all over the world together, and it should have no boundaries. So
I agree with that. Well, I can definitely not have you here without asking you to please, would you be able to sing something for us in Korean?
A little something in Korean.
Yes, please.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay. So Big Bang is one of the best, one of my favorite K-pop groups. They're like the kings of K-pop. So I'm gonna do like a little bit of one of their new songs.
Awesome.
It's called 에르모르겠다. So. 힘주는 너의 눈빛에 입술은 더 아파하지 너는 말에 느꼈던 이름 떠님 이러지도 저러지도 못해 나 이 밤에 가기 전에 난 넌 내 품 안에 want every love I think I wanna just 고민하지 마 hey 에르모르겠다 I love you 에르모르겠다 I love you 에르모르겠다 Girl I wanna get down
It's so good!
I think I mixed up a couple words at the beginning, but it's okay.
That was amazing.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. We are all so excited. What's up next? Can we, follow you guys?
Definitely. Please follow us. EXPEdition.official on Instagram. EXP Edition for the rest of our social media on YouTube. We're EXP Edition TV. So please stay tuned. Watch. Check out our channel. We have all of our latest happening there. And then we're heading to Denmark next week for the first time. We'll be performing at Roskilde Music Festival. And we're super excited about that. We're doing 4 shows there. And then heading back to Seoul to wrap up things on our mini album, which we'll be releasing later this year. So
awesome. Yeah. So exciting. Let's take a picture.
Yes, definitely. Oh my gosh.
Thank you so much for being here. Good luck with
so
everything.
Great to see you, Ava. Thank you for having me.
Me too.
It's been awesome. And thanks for watching, guys. Take care.
Yay! This is a good one. This is a good one.